From translation, TLB, the Living Bible. This 92nd day of the year. Today we are reading passages 1 Samuel 21 to 24. 1 Samuel chapter 21, verses 1 to 15. David went to Ahimelech the priest at Nob. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you today?" David replied to Ahimelech the priest, "The king has sent me on a secret mission and told me, 'Don't let anyone know what I'm doing or where I'm going. I have instructed my young men to meet me at such and such a place. Now, what do you have available? Give me 5 loaves of bread, or whatever you can find." But the priest replied, "I don't have any ordinary bread on hand, but there is the holy bread, provided the young men have not had intercourse with any women." "That's all right," David replied. "The men have kept themselves from women for religious reasons, and even when they're on a regular military expedition, their equipment is holy. How much more so today when they're on a special mission?" So the priest gave him the holy bread, for there was no other bread except the bread of the presence, which had been removed from before the Lord and replaced by hot bread on the day it was taken away. Now one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before the Lord. He was Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief shepherd. David asked Ahimelech, "Do you have a spear or sword here?" "The king's business was so urgent that I didn't even bring my sword or weapons with me. The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here," Ahimelech replied. "It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it, there is none but here." "That's the one," David said. "There is none like it, give it to me." So that day David fled from Saul and went to King Achish of Gath. But David's words were overheard by the servants of Achish, who said, "Isn't this David, the king of the land? Isn't he the one they sing about in their dances? Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. David was greatly afraid of Achish and thought to himself, "Now I will be in their hands. One of these days they will kill me." So he feigned madness before them, making marks on the doors of the gate and letting saliva run down his beard. When Achish saw this, he said to his men, "Look at the man, he's gone mad. Why are you bringing him to me? Don't I have enough madmen without you bringing this one here to carry on in my presence? Should this fellow come into my house?" 1 Samuel chapter 22, verses 1 to 24. David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down to him there. All those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him, and he became their commander. About 400 men were with him. From there David went to Mizpah in Moab and said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and mother come and stay with you until I know what God will do for me." So David left them with the king of Moab, and they stayed with him as long as David was in the stronghold. But the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not stay in the stronghold, go into the land of Judah." So David left and went into the forest of Hereth. Now Saul heard that David and his men had been discovered. And Saul was sitting under a tamarisk tree on the hill at Gibeah, with his spear in his hand, and all his officials were standing around him. Saul said to his officials who were standing around him, "Listen, men of Benjamin. Will the son of Jesse give all of you fields and vineyards? Will he make all of you commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? Is that why all of you have conspired against me? No one tells me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. None of you is concerned about me or tells me that my son has incited my servant to lie in wait for me, as he does today." But Doeg the Edomite, who was standing with Saul's officials, said, "I saw the son of Jesse come to Ahimelech son of Ahitub at Nob. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him. He gave him provisions and the sword of Goliath the Philistine." Then the king sent for the priest Ahimelech son of Ahitub and all his father's family, who were the priests at Nob, and they all came to the king. Saul said, "Listen now, son of Ahitub." Ahimelech answered, "Here I am, my lord." Saul said to him, "Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse? You have given him bread and a sword and inquired of God for him, so that he has turned against me and waits in ambush for me, as he does today." Ahimelech answered the king, "Who among all your officials is as loyal as David? He is the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and honored in your house. Was that day the first time I inquired of God for him? No. Let not the king accuse his servant or any of my father's family, for your servant knows nothing at all about this whole affair." But the king said, "You shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's family." Then the king said to the guards standing around him, "Turn and kill the priests of the Lord, because they too have sided with David." They knew he was fleeing, yet they did not tell me. But Saul's officials were unwilling to raise their hands to strike the priests of the Lord. The king then said to Doeg, "You turn and strike the priests." So Doeg the Edomite turned and struck the priests, and that day he killed 85 men who wore the linen ephod. He also nobbed the city of the priests, with its sword and women and children and infants, and he and Doeg the Edomite put them to death. But one of the sons of Ahimelech son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled to David. He joined David at Keilah, and David was glad to have him with him. Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. So David said to Abiathar, I knew it, that day Doeg the Edomite was there and told me. I have brought about the death of every person in your father's household. Stay with me, don't be afraid of anyone who wants to kill you. You will be safe with me as you protect me, and help me escape from Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 23, verses 1 to 29. When David was told, Look, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah and are looting the threshing floors, he inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go and attack these Philistines? The Lord answered him, Go, attack the Philistines and save Keilah. But David's men said to him, Here we are in Judah, and we're afraid of even our own shadows. How much more then if we go to Keilah to fight against the entire Philistine army? Once again David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered him, Go down to Keilah, for I am going to give the Philistines into your hand. So David and his men went to Keilah, fighting against the Philistines and carrying off their livestock. David rescued the people of Keilah. Now Abiathar son of Ahimelech had brought the ephod down to David when he fled from Saul. Saul was told that David had gone to Keilah, and Saul said, God has handed him over to me, for David has imprisoned himself by entering a town with gates and bars. And Saul summoned all his forces to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. When David learned that Saul was plotting against him, to destroy him because he had been warned, and he and his men were about 600 in number, he said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the ephod. Then David said, O Lord, God of Israel, your servant has heard that Saul plans to come to Keilah and destroy the town on account of me. Will the citizens of Keilah hand me over to him? Will Saul come down as your servant has heard? O Lord, God of Israel, please tell your servant. And the Lord said, He will come down. Then David asked, Will the citizens of Keilah hand me and my men over to Saul? And the Lord said, They will. So David and his men, about 600 in number, left Keilah and kept moving from place to place. When Saul was told that David had escaped from Keilah, he did not go there. David stayed in the strongholds in the wilderness, in the hill country of the desert of Ziph. Day after day Saul searched for him, but God did not give David into his hands. When David saw that Saul had come out to search for him, David moved on from Horsh to the strongholds in the desert of Ziph. And Jonathan, Saul's son, went to David at Horsh and helped him find strength in God. Don't be afraid, Jonathan said to David. My father Saul will not lay a hand on you. You will be king over Israel, and I will be second to you. Even my father Saul knows it. The two of them made a covenant before the Lord. Then Jonathan went home, but David remained at Horsh. The Ziphites went up to Saul at Gibeah and said, Is not David hiding among us in the strongholds at Horsh, on the hill of Hachilah, south of Jeshimon? Now, your majesty, come down according to all the desire of your soul to come down, and it will be our duty to deliver him into the king's hand. Saul replied, The Lord bless you for your kindness to me. Go and make further preparation. Find out where he usually goes and who has seen him there. I am told that he is very crafty. Look around and learn all the places where he hides, and then come back to me with definite information. And if he is in the area, I will go down there with you and search him out among all the clans of Judah. So they set out and went to Ziph ahead of Saul. Now David and his men were in the desert of Maon, in the Arabah south of Jeshimon. Saul and his men began searching for him, but David was told about it and went down to the rock and stayed in the desert of Maon. When Saul heard this, he went into the desert of Maon in pursuit of David. Saul was going along one side of the mountain, and David and his men were on the other side, hurrying to get away from Saul. As Saul and his forces were closing in on David and his men to capture them, a messenger came to Saul, saying, Come quickly. The Philistines have raided the land. Then Saul broke off his pursuit of David and went to meet the Philistines. That is why that place is called the Rock of Escape. And David went up from there and lived in the strongholds of En-Gedi. 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 1 to 22. After Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, David is in the desert of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel and set out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. He came to the sheepfolds along the way where there was a cave, and Saul went into it to relieve himself. David and his men were far back in the cave. The men said, This is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Afterwards, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay my hand on him. For he is the Lord's anointed. With these words, David urged his men not to do anything to Saul. Then Saul left the cave and went on his way. David also got up and went out of the cave. He called out to Saul, My lord the king. When Saul looked behind him, David bowed and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. He said to Saul, Why do you listen to those who say, David is trying to harm you? This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lay my hand on my master, because he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off the corner of your robe, but did not kill you. Recognize that I am not plotting harm against you, and I am not rebelling against you, even though you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between us. May the Lord avenge me on you, but my hand will not touch you. As the old saying goes, from evildoers come evil deeds, so my hand will not touch you. Against whom has the king of Israel come out? Who are you pursuing? A dead dog, a flea. May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. May he consider my cause and uphold it. May he vindicate me by delivering me from your hand. When David finished saying this, Saul asked, Is that your voice, David my son? And he wept aloud. You are more righteous than I, Saul said. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. You have just told me about the good you did to me. The Lord delivered me into your hands, but you did not kill me. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him get away unharmed? May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will not wipe out my descendants, or wipe out my name from my father's family. So David gave his oath to Saul. Then Saul went home, but David and his men returned to their stronghold.